Cerveza de los Muertos sprung up out of nowhere in 2013 with a major push throughout the United States. Brewed just east of Tijuana in Tecate, Mexico, Day of the Dead beer is produced by Cerveceria Mexicana, which is best known for Mexicali and Trader Joe's Trader Jose Mexican lagers. Designed as a micro beer, does Cerveza de los Muertos stand out from the competition? Find out now on Two Dudes Reviews. What up, guys? Yeah, today we are doing the Cerveza de los Muertos, or Day of the Dead beer. And let's just get into it, and we'll just keep talking while we're going. I thought this was a twist off. Apparently it's not. Okay, it is a twist off. I don't know what I'm doing. But anyways, if you like me, this beer just kind of poof popped up out of nowhere all of a sudden. And the thing is about a lot of Mexican beers, they don't kind of slowly move through the market. They poof out of nowhere. And you may never heard of this general brand before, but you probably may heard of who makes it. It's a brewery called Cerveceria Mexicana, and they make the Mexicali beer, right out of Tijuana, basically. And they're more of a brewery for hire kind of thing. The beers they make aren't all just under the same label, which is why you don't see a lot of that information printed all over the thing. You will see it, kind of mentioned Tecate, so, they're kind of the overlord of everything. But, for the most part, it's generally its own kind of thing. But I know for me, the big reason I got it not only was because I thought the bottling was pretty sweet, but also I was kind of like, wow, Mexican micro beer. Who would have thought? So yeah, that's what interested me originally. This is the Hefeweizen, and so let's get into the review, which is the smell first. And of course, one thing, it is, we don't do the color a lot, but it is darker for a Hefeweizen, that's for sure. I mean, you have the citrus aroma, but it's not like like a lighter lemony kind of thing. It's definitely heavier, like orange zest apricot kind of thing going on. You might have a little bit more barley-ish than what your normal Hefeweizen is going to have. And in general, it kind of has that like slightly thicker aroma to it. Like, it's not going to be as light as maybe a Belgian wheat kind of thing is going to have. But it's an interesting aroma. If I wasn't looking at the bottle, it says 5.5% alcohol, which actually isn't, a little higher for your lighter Hefeweizens, but just by smelling it, I would have thought it'd be a lot more than that by how kind of barley-ish and deep the aroma undertones are. But it's interesting. So just for that, I'm going to recommend it on the smell. And so, alright, let's get into the taste. You do have a bit of the bite of the barley up front. Not super heavy, but it is there, more so than, it's almost closer towards, the German Hefeweizen, which that makes sense. But, it is more towards your German Hefeweizen than, like, say, an American or a Belgian thing. So that's one thing to kind of keep in mind. But yeah, you definitely get a little bit of that barleyness up front. Maybe a little woodsy. Not like heavy, but just like ever so light on the on like maybe oak. I don't know if oak's the right wood, but it is definitely a little towards that end. It's not super. It's not light, I guess. Which sometimes with Hefeweizens you really don't know what end it's going to be. Is it going to be that lighter end or the darker end? And I think just by going with the color, you kind of answered your question before you even got to the flavor. But I mean, it's not like thick as I might have thought with the aroma of it. But it does have like this apricot toffiness to it, which is totally fine. It really I think it kind of depends what you're looking for from a Hefeweizen, because there's such a wide spectrum for what you can get from it. I think that's going to depend on if you like it or not. If you like your Hefeweizens more towards the less sweeter side and more kind of oaky, apricot-y, that end, okay, cool. But if you'd rather have it as like the more citrusy, and on that side, maybe this isn't exactly what you're going for. So it's interesting. It's definitely not what you would expect from a Mexican beer. For just the Mexican beers that flood the United States, this doesn't taste like any of them. So I guess keep that in mind. But as for if I recommend it or not, I mean, I think I'd recommend it on the taste. It's definitely it's your German Hefeweizen, and definitely more of the thicker German Hefeweizen than just the run-of-the-mill kind of thing. But I'll recommend it for the taste. Next, we're going to go with value for price, and basically what you pay for a micro beer, 6-pack micro beer in the States. Really, any 6-pack of micro beer is pretty much what you're paying for this. I believe I paid about $10 for a 6-pack. That might depend on where you live, probably, but for the most part, it's run-of-the-mill for a micro beer or for a general import. It might. I believe it does cost a little bit more than your Corona or most widely available Mexican beers. It is a bit more than that, but it doesn't taste like a Mexican beer. Honestly, if you just looked at the label and you're like, that's a cool label, you didn't know it was made in Mexico and just got it, you probably wouldn't even assume that it came from Mexico after you drank it until you start looking around on the label and imported from Mexico, kind of, until you started really looking into it. You probably wouldn't guess that it was actually a Mexican beer. But, I think price is fair for a micro beer and for an import. I think $10 for 6-packs, fine. So I'll recommend it on price. Alright, next is distinction. How distinct is it from other beers in its category? And one, I have to compare it to just generally other Mexican beers that I've had, and it is far and away considerably different than most of the Mexican beers. It's closer to like a Bohemia kind of thing, just because for how the darkness and everything like that. Maybe similar to an Indio too, but those are more close towards Pilsners, while this is a Hefeweizen kind of thing. But it's generally along the same, I think, kind of based more on like a German or Czechoslovakian beer versus a super light Mexican beer. So I guess it does share some similar characteristics with a handful of other Mexican beers, but for the most part, it is definitely different. And so you gotta take it with that, and then you also have to compare it with just the Hefeweizens, because that's what it is. And I wouldn't say it's like head over heels better than other Hefeweizens you're gonna find, but it's not bad by any means. Again, that depends on if you like your Hefeweizens darker and a little heavier versus your fruitier or citrusy ones. So with all that in mind, I'm going to recommend it on Distinction just because of all those factors coming into play. So yeah, I will recommend it for Distinction. So alright, category 4 or 5 if I can count is man, I can't count and I can't open a twist open bottle. What's going on tonight? But alright, next one is drinkability. Can I drink a couple of these in a row? Let's take another sip of this. Yeah, definitely the more you drink it, it's more German Hefeweizen or an American take on a German Hefeweizen. But I don't know if I'd, you get it in a 6-pack. I'm not going to drink the whole 6-pack at once, I think, with this. That's just because of the style of the Hefeweizen that they're doing. It doesn't really set itself up, at least for me, for drinking most of the 6-pack. I could do this one, maybe a second one, but after that, it's kind of like this is getting a little too dark. Not dark, I mean a little too thicker for me to have multiple ones in a row. And but since I can do one and maybe a second one in a row, I'll give it a half out of 1. So I could do it, but there'd be other beers I'd rather pick up if I wanted to. That's my only beer that I'm having for that night. So half, yeah. And alright, the last category is would I buy it again? And it kind of depends. Really, if I wanted to have somebody check out a microbrew out of Mexico, and a beer that doesn't taste like your general Mexican beer that you're used to, I would definitely grab this one and be like, hey, check this out. This is not what you're expecting. And so I definitely do that. On the other end, I don't just pick up a beer because it's Mexican and drink it. I pick it up if, compared to other beers in its specific category, if I feel like drinking that, and so I have to compare it to the other Hefeweizens in its category. And because of that, I probably may not, pick it up, just because I think for me, I do tend to side more on the citrusy, not sweet, but just not quite as apricot-y or toffee-ish as this Hefeweizen. So for you, maybe that'd be your thing. For me, it's not completely. So again, I'm gonna give them another half because I would pick it up for other people. For me, I might not pick it up just for myself. If it was at a Mexican restaurant or someplace, and there's, if that appeared on those menus, sure, I might do it then. But so yeah, I'm gonna give it a half. So 5 points out of 6, that ain't bad. But so yeah, that is my review of the Day of the Dead beer / Cerveza de los Muertos. And if you see it, check it out. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised, especially if you're kind of like with most of the Mexican beers you've had. I think those other beers kind of give stuff like this a bad rap. There is a lot of quality Mexican beers out there. Just the stuff in the States is kind of not as high quality. But yeah, that's the review. If you've had the Hefeweizen of this before, let me know in the comments. I'd love to know what you think. If there's other Mexican beers you think I should check out, put that in the comments as well. And we have, if you want more from us, we have a podcast, 2 Dudes in a 6-Pack. You can get that in iTunes, whatever. I got a little link down there below. If you want to pick up a 2 Dudes in a 6-Pack Admiral Ackbar, it's our top t-shirt, got another link for that below as well. Feel free to follow us on Twitter at 2 Dudes Podcast. You get that kind of update with when I post new stuff to the YouTube or to the iTunes channel, everything like that. It gets updated there too. But yeah, that is about it. So for me and for Mr. Hefeweizen, take it easy.